patriarch of the family at prayer, opened the holy book to the page on which nothing was written, and closed his eyes to chant above the din of artillery shells and the staccato of small arms fire. The quartermaster studied the neighborhood association listed in the appendix of the report on the bridges destroyed in the last offensive and counted backward from 10. A tune forgotten by the bugler echoed in the cave like the words dissolving on the scroll. 5, 4, 3. And then maybe we'll go to yours is the next poem in the thing, so we'll start there. I should just say on the way to that, one of the things that when I began by talking about mishearing, and I remember at one point somebody had the line "cruel hookah," but a lot of us misheard it. So in the book, then it turned into poems into "cruel hooker," and that was, that's what happens.
Okay, so in the beginning, as Chris said, we had nothing to go on yet. We didn't have any words for anyone else. And so my first one says this: a single car horn eighth note signals for the union of 7 who write. A waterfall of tires on wet roadway enters through a window. These connect. I hear the silence. I usually hear the silence. There's sound and no sound in the paring of an apple, in the thrust of an auto when motion turns to scrap metal at the end. One has also an urge to hear the unheard, to see the invisible, smell the odorless, touch the insubstantial, and then to taste the last ashes of an earth in flames before it meets the sun. We are given to this unity of nourishment and damnation because we cook up words to cover silence.
So maybe I'll read one then I'll read 2 poems here, one by Dean and then the next one from Tomaz. And Dean was also the only one to title all his poems, I noticed. Isn't being upside down the real game? Hurt animal, don't you still love the myriad? Myriad the burning arc, myriad your pop beads popped. I love the narration of your life taking longer than my life, more lasting than its last ashes, a wetter waterfall than its worm. I love your contaminants, a new red in the network, new storm huffing to sea. I don't need the sea to tell me whose sigh I sink back to. I see the bubbles where it all went down, the surge when it comes back up, hiccup, drunk licorice, scent of brackish grasses, a faith of guesses. I don't believe we'll ever truly part, it's just we can't meet, too magnetic, too repulsive. Warps the day on the wrong warpath, but the night, shot peregrine, keeps splurging in throes. And then here's a kind of answer from Tomaz Salumun. Dean is your friend. He loves contamination. Pirate, I call you pirate, my worm. Go and eat. Strip the moon. Strip the sun. Spring the dark mass. Creep on the meadow. Throw the luncheon from the table. Grind it. Call your brothers. After how many cubes? After how many cubes of gold? Yours are mountains. Ours are leaves. Every whirlpool has its price. What? You want to bring your pink skin to heaven? Do you evaporate thunder? Will you be circular like a drum? Will the birds nudge you apart? Only women were free on the plain. They rode with light blue shawls. Then we went to the southern lands, walked on the mountain, where there were still some bones left from vultures.
Well, things began to show up pretty soon, but still these are the poems written on day 1, it says. So, for example, who knows this one?
Istvan. Istvan, yeah.
I can't say it.
Istvan.
Say the whole name.
Istvan Laszio Geher, whose
He
father translates his poems.
Oh, yeah, okay. Open the book to the page where there is nothing written. Read it. I listen. I learn before you. A voice needs an end. Silence never does. Half hidden, it speaks for the coverage. That's why I've fallen in love with your eyes, closed, even if wide open, practicing for death well in advance. Your gaze, like foam on the water's face, keeps lurking on the surface. Last time I had your palm in my hand, the lines on it were rivers creeping up from estuary to spring. Everyone lives in reverse. Open the book. I want to hear you. Don't want to cling. my lines are creeping through to your palm. So you can see that everybody starting from nowhere ends up kind of starting from the same somewhere.
No, and then I'm just thinking like light blue shawls that ended up showing up in lots of poems as the day went on. Day 2. Each day in this book we have a union in a different word. That's gakda, union in Maltese. Who would have imagined that we would have a Maltese poet doing this? And here's maybe one more poem from Dean just to give you a taste, because I think it points to what we were trying to do. The plow goes through the world. My friends, the plow goes through the word. Laughter cleaved from slaughter, aster from disaster, rot from erotics. Smoke comes from the halo, maybe a benefit of mistranslation. This morning waking, a slip, a spill, a slur, while the sky gave up its color, yet somehow we find each other. I don't believe in shouts, don't believe in whispers, heavy and fat air, but under dripping umbrellas we fall in love like giraffes, like sopped skyrockets. There's never one language for that. Poetry is always cockeyed, obedient to only other. What we whisper for, wish to be true, to woo unto woe. Unsmother me, my darkling, divisible words from other tongues.
Wow. If only you could see what leads from one poem to another. I mean, there are all these threads going on. There's no way we can really represent that. But out of day 2, here's one of mine. I mean, there are all kinds of echoes in it, but there's no way to make that clear to you. We mention things that are in the room. We mention things that came up in other people's poems. We mention things about just being there, the 7 of us doing that. That light blue shawl, I think, shows up the first time because I used it, and I think I used it because when I was in Yugoslavia, when it was all Yugoslavia a long time ago, and I wanted to bring something home to my wife Dorothy, and I went around the corner, someone translating for me, went around the corner in Belgrade because I had seen this blue thing that I wanted to buy for a piece of clothing, and the only one they had was in the window, and the sales lady wouldn't take it out. I mean, she just wouldn't work. She wouldn't take it out, but then my translator got after her, and so she took it out and I brought it home. So you know, the speaker in a poem is not the poet, but the speaker knows a lot about the poet. So this is from day 2. Job at the cafe recalls the orchid lay on the bedpost, still fragrant in the dawn, before the book of books. Job the sufferer will soon be breaking his silence, telling the 7 of us as the umbrellas close up and the sky is reborn where we are to go. Job says we are to step around the snakes lolling at midday if we are climbing. And if we are descending, we will wear wetsuits and walk the sea bottom. Job says we are free to set fire to the ark and to the story of the animals. This is the same Job some say never existed, and others place at the side of Pharaoh. But today, we 7 are the rabbis, and we, if we choose to, can take tea and ask him.
And here's a poem from Simone Inguanez, which I think at least partly came from a trip the IWP went up to Effigy Mounds. I'll scribble you naked. Man, I'll scribble you naked on effigy mounds under blue umbrellas, dripping. I'll lay you down and leave you in sacred patches where clouds rest when they're done, where incense blows, not wind, where it is said by the light of the drunken moon, branches and leaves dance so close they can be heard, singing in tongues of warm, wet soil. And I'll return at sunrise, expecting you. We'll give birth to wild cherry blossoms. Do another one. Well, then here's one from Istvan. Yellow mustache standing out on the pier. On his forearms a hair of reddish glow. He needs beer to line his throat. 50 boats a day, thirst quenched by dust. The hull becomes a tent over the head. Scorched by the sun, freckles are sparkling. Carries along the trestle, searches for cloth. Awaken to the smell of oil that his mood filters.